Rachel and I were closest in high school, I think, which feels like a couple of years ago or like 2 lifetimes ago. I'm not sure which sometimes. We were never romantically involved. For one thing, she was dating my friends. Had she shown even the slightest shred of interest, it would have been a terrible idea. We did all the usual high school things together. We hung out with our friends. She would come to the Andersons' house where I was living for my senior year and struggle with calculus with me. Most important to me were the countless hours we spent talking about the great mysteries of life and trying to figure things out. Sometimes it would be at the Andersons' house, sometimes it'd be on the phone, and sometimes, actually an unreasonable amount of times, way more times than is reasonable. It was the middle of the night in her driveway, in my car, just talking. Somehow my convertible 1989 Volkswagen Cabriolet, with its moldy smell and woefully inadequate weather stripping, was a great place to ponder life's great mysteries. It was, of course, a convenient loophole in her curfew, but I think we did it because no matter where we were coming from or what conversations we were having, we never felt like they were over. We always had more to figure out. We never got to the nub of it. It felt like things just weren't finished. And it felt so important for us to figure it out. But, it felt in some way comforting to be a philosophically unmoored teenager if someone was sitting next to you who you trusted. One of my favorite memories of Rachel from high school is of a time we were goofing off with Brent Skilton and Landon Durham. Maybe somebody else was there. We're quoting Monty Python and just generally being hilarious and goofy. And as we walked through the music building, Rachel overflowing with exactly that quality that we all know so well. That feels so distinctly Rachel, even if we can't really articulate what it is. She said, "I feel like I'm just one of the guys." As I meditate on this story today, I'm touched. It was a pronouncement that we were her people and she was our people, and she was so happy about that. It was just a wholesome thing to say. But at that point in time, wholesome was not exactly within our emotional range. As soon as she said it, in a synchronicity that was as if we had been practicing for that very moment for years, we all started taking off our shirts. "Let us have a shirtless manly time. Yes, that is what manly men do. I want to be a lumberjack." And Rachel, in a frantic effort to immediately terminate this disrobing, started shouting, "I take it back! I take it back! I'm not just one of the guys!" As we settled down, she gave this exasperated sigh and said, "Well, I walked right into that one." It's the natural order of things for friendships to ebb and flow. It didn't help that, in retrospect, what I think is a combination of undiagnosed obsessive compulsive disorder and, let's call it, late blooming emotional intelligence, I kind of made it challenging for her to be my friend. But I made amends, and the waning of our relationship was as it should be, I think, as it had to have been. We were going to college, we were studying different disciplines, sometimes in different countries, and as a result, our own circle of friends had a smaller and smaller intersection. But we never stopped being friends. There's an episode that has stuck with me. I don't know why. It feels very much like a quintessentially Rachel moment. It was in the cafeteria and I was walking by a table where she was sitting with her friends, and in the great tradition of highbrow intellectual discourse, so typical of the academy, somebody said, "What if this whole time Nanak of the North's last name is North?" My mind struggled to grasp these concepts, but Rachel didn't miss a beat. She said, "His middle name is of the." The thing about this joke is that Rachel's one of the few people who can tell it. If some jackass tried to rip that joke off and, tried to sound funnier than they actually were by telling that joke to people, it probably wouldn't land. They would probably bomb. And I know this because I've tried several times, and every time I always end up at the end of it going, "His first name is North." Well, but you see, So Nanook of the North, of the North. North is his last name. Nanook of the is his middle name. Of the North. And everyone would reassure me, no, they got the joke. But what's profound about this memory is how ordinary it is. It's just 1 minute out of 10 million minutes that were exactly like it. And for some reason, this particular one stuck in my head. I don't know why. The only photo I have of her and I from that era is from Sherry Young's wedding. If I recall correctly, that was the last time we saw each other in person. But as I said, we never stopped being friends. I followed her life on Facebook to keep an eye on things from 2,600 miles away. One day I saw that she was getting married to Jonathan Meharry. I am sure Jonathan does not know me and has no recollection of ever meeting me. But I know Jonathan Meharry. We met at a mutual friend's party, and I was in high school. I may be getting these details wrong, but as I recall, you had these glasses with yellow tinted lenses, and I don't know if it was chinos or was it corduroys. I think it was corduroys. It was very like Portland, Oregon formal. And I remember thinking to myself, that little snot, he totally pulls that look off. Because you did pull that look off. Like, you so pulled it off, and I could never wear that. Like, it just wouldn't work. I'd look ridiculous. So I was a little alarmed when I saw that Rachel was gonna get married to you. But he's so young. My scale was a little uncalibrated. We don't have a lot of Facebook friends in common, but a little bit of Jonathan Meharry did seep into my Facebook feed, and I almost immediately realized my mistake. Oh, actually, yes, all right. This guy's, no, actually, he's cool. All right. This guy's basically perfect for Rachel. He's okay. He's fine. He's kind of her bullseye. No, actually, he's okay. I don't know what I was thinking. Rachel and I would chat or email briefly every few years, and we would always talk about how we really need to get together and catch up. Eventually, babies started flying out of my computer screen from the Facebook feed on Facebook. Her children, they are so beautiful. Times like these have a way of making us reflect on how we got here. What roads did we walk down to arrive at this particular place in this particular time? Rachel walked a lot of important roads with me. She taught me so much good. A lot has happened in my life in the last few years, some of it not very good. I feel the weight of my ignorance of life's mysteries just as much as I ever have. Reflecting on these last few days, I see how much I need Rachel to help me figure these things out. Just like I needed her in high school. I think everyone who knew her does in some way or another. That's how she's special to us. And I want to celebrate that. Not because we were great friends 20 years ago, but because I knew. But because I know that we still are great friends. To Rachel's family, I give all of my love. So Nanook of the North, an unreasonable amount of times. Nanook North, far more times than I think is reasonable. Of the North, way more times than is reasonable. His first name is North of the, way more times than I think is reasonable. North is his last name. Of the is his middle name. The number of times just isn't reasonable.